Dear viewers, welcome to another episode of Expert Speaks. This Tuesday, the expert of the week, Chartered Accountant Dhanush Bolar, is going to take you through 13 points you have to keep in mind in case if you are an NRI, PIO or a foreign national and you have an intention to buy property in India. Watch this episode till the end as he lists 13 questions that you need answers on. This is NRI Money Clinic for you and I am Dr. Chandrakant Bhatt, your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
Dear viewers, if you are an NRI and if you have an intention to buy property in India, you have to keep the various laws which govern the purchase, sale, gift, inheritance of immovable property in India. It's a detailed subject. We have done multiple videos. You have asked us a lot of questions. To answer your question and to give you a comprehensive guidance on how NRIs, PIOs and foreign nationals can buy property in India, I have brought to the studio a very eminent faculty, expert on FEMA law, Chartered Accountant Dhanush Bolar. Chartered Accountant Dhanush Bolar is a partner at Nitin J. Shetty and Co. He has done multiple videos on this channel on various aspects of FEMA law. Today he is going to specifically talk about what are the points you have to keep in mind if you have to buy property in India. Welcome to the show, Mr. Dhanush Bolar.
Thank you.
Mr. Dhanush Bolar, it's an exhaustive subject.
Yes.
Any length of time is insufficient to do this. I don't know how much justice we are going to do for this, but nevertheless, I have listed 13 questions. Let us do this video with as simple answers as possible. People who have genuine questions, people who want to do purchase of property, they can always refer a chartered accountant, or even for that matter, they can consult you in a professional way. I have given the email ID of Dhanush Bolar here on the screen. You can consult him, but we will try and do a simple video to answer the doubts or the questions that are there in the minds of the audience.
Yes.
My first question to you is, there are multiple laws in India. Which law governs the purchase or acquisition of property, immovable properties in India?
See, acquisition and transfer of immovable property in India by NRI and OCI as well as foreign nationals are governed by Foreign Exchange Management Act and the regulations issued by the Reserve Bank of India. Also, they have to comply with the Income Tax Act, which deals with the TDS implication. So, under this regulation, general permission is available for acquisition and transfer of immovable property subject to certain conditions which we will be discussing in today's episode. So, for under FEMA, NRI and OCI should be very cautious before buying an immovable property in India.
Dear viewers, it is very essential that you have to look into the finer points of law before you buy any property in India. Any violation can land you into unwanted trouble going forward. Make sure that you consult professionals in this line before you make the first payment to the seller. My follow-up question to you is, I am an NRI. I want to acquire property. I deliberately use this word acquire. I am not telling that I buy the property. I want to acquire the property. Tell me which are the modes by which I can acquire immovable properties in India.
See, there are three modes of acquisition of immovable property. One is acquisition by way of purchase. A NRI OCI can purchase any immovable property other than agriculture land, plantation property and farmhouse from an NRI OCI or a resident.
Okay.
And the second mode of acquisition of the property is acquisition by way of gift. He can acquire any immovable property other than agriculture land, plantation property and farmhouse by way of gift from NRI, OCI or a resident who is a relative as defined under the Companies Act.
Okay, so the person who gifts it should be a relative. And the relative as described in the Companies Act.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
The third mode of acquisition is acquisition by way of inheritance. The NRI and OCI can acquire any immovable property including agriculture land, plantation property and farmhouse by way of inheritance from an NRI and OCI who has acquired in accordance with the FEMA law at the time of purchase or from a resident.
Okay. The point to stress here is that yes, inheritance is possible. But the person who has acquired this property must have acquired this in accordance with the laws prevailing at that point of time.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Right. Dhanush, now NRIs can acquire properties, you told about that. But post the acquisition, is there any filing requirement that is there? Is there an obligation that I, as an NRI, buy property and do I have to do any filing with the Reserve Bank?
No, you don't have to submit any documents with the Reserve Bank of India. And also there are no restrictions on the number of properties, residential or commercial properties that can be purchased.
Okay. So you can buy any number of properties, but you don't need to do any filing. That obligation is not there.
Yes.
Right. My next question to you is, if I have to buy something in India, what are the modes of payment which is available to me to pay for it? I have some money lying in India. I may send money from outside of India through different channels. Which is the one the law permits and which is outside the law?
See, payment for acquisitions of the immovable property can be paid out of the funds received in India through banking channel by way of inward remittance from a place outside India. That means you are directly settling the consideration to a seller in India by remitting money from abroad.
Okay.
Or if you have funds available in your NRE account or NRI account or FCNR account, he can utilize those funds for the acquisitions of the immovable property in India. However, he cannot make payment by using traveler's checks or foreign currency notes.
See, you told me this. I'll tell you one complication here. Many NRIs, out of negligence, ignorance, are still maintaining the resident bank account,
Yes.
which is a violation of FEMA law, which you have told in multiple videos before. Now, somebody has still a resident account working in India, and while acquiring the property, he uses the money which is there in the resident account. Is it okay? What kind of a problems he might land into? What is that he has to make sure while he tries to pay from his resident account?
See, first of all, having a resident account being an NRI is a violation as per FEMA law. And he is utilizing the funds available in the resident account for the acquisitions of the immovable property is also violation. And ultimately, he may end up paying a penalty which is 3 times the amount involved in the violation. So the cost is 10 lakh, he may end up paying 30 lakh as penalty if he has made payment by using funds available in the resident account.
Okay. Dear viewers, please take this issue very seriously. If you are an NRI and you still have a resident bank account, please close these accounts or convert them into an NRO account. When you have a resident bank account, don't do the mistake of paying for purchase of property from this resident bank account. First convert them into an NRO account, then only you make payment to the properties. If you do this mistake of paying for purchase of property from your resident bank account, you may land into deep trouble sometime in the future. Please avoid that. Dhanush, NRIs bought properties or they have properties here. What does the law say? Can they rent or lease out these properties in India, or are there any restrictions, any permissions required?
See, there are no restrictions. He can rent out the property and this rental amount can be credited to the NRO bank account.
Okay.
And powers have been delegated to the authorized dealer bank to permit the repatriations of the funds by obtaining a certification from a chartered accountant. And he has to certify that the funds is eligible for remittance outside India and the applicable taxes have been paid.
Right. It is the chartered accountant's duty to give that
Certification,
right.
yes.
Right. Okay, fine. A small follow-up question for you. Somebody, when he was a resident, owns the property. Can he continue to hold, or is there any other obligation on him once he becomes NRI, because he owned the property before he became an NRI?
No, he can continue to hold the such properties if he has acquired that property when he was a resident.
Okay.
Including agricultural property. He don't have to file any documents with the RBI.
Right. So whatever he did as a resident Indian, that's perfectly fine. And when you become an NRI, there is no issue of complying with any specific laws over there.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Dhanush, NRIs have acquired the property or they had properties before they become NRI. Now, if they want to sell it or if they want to gift it, whom can they gift or sell it, or are there any restrictions? Are there any exception to the rules? Can you briefly tell the information about what losses?
See, NRI and OCI can sell any property or gift any property to an NRI, OCI or to a resident.
Okay.
But there is an exception here.
Okay.
The exception is if it is agriculture property which he has acquired when he was a resident or which he has received by way of inheritance, then that agriculture property can be sold or can be gifted only to a resident, not to an NRI or OCI.
Right. Barring the exception of agricultural land, they can sell it to an NRI, OCI or even to a resident Indian. Agricultural land, there is a obligation that they should sell only to a resident Indian.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Dhanush, many NRIs may need money outside of India. They may not come back to India. A point may arise in their lifetime that they want to sell this property and move money outside of India. Is it permitted, or the law says that no, you have to use this money only in India?
NRI and OCI can repatriate the sale proceeds of an immovable property subject to 3 conditions. The first condition is the purchase of the immovable property should have been made in accordance with the FEMA law, which was prevailing at the time of acquisition of the immovable property.
Okay.
The second condition is, in the case of residential property, the repatriation of sale proceeds is restricted to only 2 property.
Okay. Okay.
There is a conflict here because there is one more scheme which is called as $1 million scheme, which allows you to repatriate the sale proceeds of a residential property, I mean more than 2 residential property. It's always a dispute here. Maybe we'll get a resolution over a period of time.
Right. So at this point of time, there is small conflict here. I think the chartered accountant community knows about it. It gets represented to the government and probably will get a resolution as times pass by. Thank you for this information, Dhanush.
And the third condition is you have to obtain a certificate from a chartered accountant in form 15CB, certifying that the whatever applicable taxes, income tax on the sale proceeds have been paid.
Okay, fine. Mr. Dhanush, can a foreign national buy or sell properties in India? Are they allowed to acquire properties in India? Foreign nationals who are not NRIs, who are not the ones who are the OCI category people, pure foreign nationals.
Here we need to check whether these foreign nationals are citizens of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and China, and Iran, Nepal and Democratic People's Republic of Korea, of Bhutan, Macau and Hong Kong.
Okay.
If they are citizens of these 11 countries, then irrespective of their residential status in India, whether they are a resident or non-resident, they have to take prior permission of Reserve Bank of India for acquisition of immovable property in India.
Okay.
However, this condition is not applicable for acquisition of immovable property under lease agreement for a period not exceeding 5 years.
Okay, right. But what about the foreign nationals who are not foreign nationals of these specified 11 countries you mentioned? Can they acquire property in India?
If these foreign nationals are not citizens of these 11 countries, then we need to check whether they are resident in India or not as per the FEMA law.
Okay.
We have already discussed this in our earlier episodes.
Correct.
When this person will become a resident or non-resident.
Right.
If they are not a resident in India, then also they have to take a prior permission of Reserve Bank of India for acquisition of immovable property in India.
Right.
And this condition also not applicable for acquisition under lease agreement for a period not exceeding 5 years.
Right. But if they are resident in India, as per the FEMA law, can they buy?
Yes. If those foreign nationals have come to in India for taking up employment or for undertaking any business or for any purpose which indicates their intention to stay in India for uncertain period, and one more condition is their stay in India during the preceding financial year is exceeded 182 days, then they can acquire immovable property in India. However, they are also bear in mind that there are conditions which are prevailing under the rules of state government.
Okay.
They have to comply with those restrictions.
Perfect. So the only way a foreign national can acquire property in India is he should be a resident in India.
Yes.
And he should not be the one who belong to the 11 list of countries what you mentioned.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Dhanush, for that piece of information. Dhanush, one follow-up question for you. Let's say that one foreign national has acquired property when he was a resident in India and he goes back to his country after a lapse of certain time. Can he sell this property? Can he repatriate this money what rules govern him?
See, as long as they are resident in India, they can sell the property and repatriate the sale proceeds under LRS, Liberalized Remittance Scheme.
Okay.
This is when they are resident in India.
Okay.
But once they become a resident outside India, means they moved out of India, then if they are transferring the property to a resident Indian, then they can transfer the property without RBI approval.
Okay.
However, they have to obtain a prior permission of RBI for repatriation of the sale proceeds.
Okay.
If they are transferring the property to a non-resident,
Okay.
then they have to take prior permission of the Reserve Bank of India for transfer of the immovable property as well as the repatriation of the sale proceeds.
Okay. So, if I summarize, if a foreign national has acquired property when he was a resident Indian, he can always sell it to a resident Indian, no permissions are required.
Yes.
But if he has to sell this property to anybody other than a resident Indian, like NRI, OCI, whatever it is, he needs to take an RBI permission.
Yes.
When he sells this property as a resident Indian, he is governed by LRS scheme.
Yes.
But if he moves out of India and then sells the property, permission of RBI is required to repatriate this money.
Yes.
This is the law which governs the foreign nationals,
Foreign
not for
nationals.
NRIs and OCIs.
OCS, yes.
Okay. One doubt or question that I have in my mind is, you told about the rules and regulations for foreign national to acquire the properties. But if there is an NRI OCI and he buys a property in joint names, and can the second joint holder be a foreign national?
No, it cannot be.
So, the same rules and regulations apply even if he is a single purchase. The same rules and regulations apply in case of a joint account holder in the acquisition of immovable property,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Mr. Dhanush, in the NRI community, there are a lot of cases of NRIs marrying a foreign national. Now, the spouse of an NRI OCI who is a foreign national, what rules and regulations govern those people with respect to acquisition of property in India?
See, foreign national who are not citizens of the 11 countries which we discussed today and who is a spouse of an NRI and OCI can acquire immovable property in India because they are eligible to become a OCI.
Okay.
I mean to say that they are eligible to apply for OCI card provided the marriage has been registered and subsisted for a period of 2 years.
Okay.
So, in that case, they are eligible to become OCI and acquire immovable property in India.
Right.
In other cases, they can acquire one immovable property in India jointly with the NRI and OCI spouse in accordance with the provisions of FEMA law. That is to say, the payment for the acquisition of the immovable property should be made by way of inward remittance from a place outside India or out of the funds available in the NR or FCNR account.
Let me summarize this point here. If an NRI has married to a foreign national, they are eligible to apply for an OCI card. Condition is that the foreign national should not have belonged to the 11 countries which has been discussed in this video. The marriage should be in existence for more than 2 years. Then you can apply for a OCI card. Then the same rules which are applied for NRI and OCIs will apply.
Yes.
If this is not the case, then they can jointly own one property with their spouse in India. The restriction is they can own only one property in India and the property should be acquired in accordance with the provisions of FEMA law. Correct?
Yes.
Right. Mr. Dhanush, you have put in a lot of efforts to simplify a very complex landscape of laws which are existing in India. I have a satisfaction that today with this video we have covered most of the points. Even after this there could be other aspects which might require professional assistance. My sincere request for the viewers is, if you have an intention to acquire property in India, please do consult chartered accountants in India. Take their guidance. Only after that you make the move of paying for the seller. You must satisfy all the rules and regulations. A bit of caution in the beginning helps you to save all that unwanted trouble in years ahead. Thank you, Dhanush, for your time, your kindness to come and brief to the benefit of our audience all these points. I remain in gratitude to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear viewers, hope the video that I have done today would have helped you to understand 13 different points that you have to keep it in mind to satisfy the FEMA law in case if you have an intention to acquire property in India. If it did help you to understand this point, please like this video. If you are a person who is watching this channel for the first time, or if you are yet to subscribe for the channel, please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Don't forget to share this video with your near and dear ones. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you with yet another expert, with yet another topic next Tuesday. Till then, stay safe.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.